The Curse of Hollow Creek. Nestled deep in the rolling hills of Appalachia lies Hollow Creek, a tiny, forgotten village that barely shows up on modern maps. For generations, locals have whispered about the town's dark history, warning outsiders to stay away. But for those brave or foolish enough to visit, Hollow Creek offers an experience they'll never forget or survive. The legend. In the late 1800s, Hollow Creek was a thriving farming community. At the heart of the village lived Margaret Hawthorne, a widowed herbalist who was known for her strange remedies. The villagers relied on her cures but feared her eccentric ways, accusing her of witchcraft when the crops began to fail. One fateful autumn, after a string of unexplained deaths in the village, a mob dragged Margaret from her cabin and burned her alive at the town square. As the flames consumed her, she screamed a chilling curse. "You have spilled my blood on this land. Now it shall drink yours in return." The next morning, the townsfolk awoke to find Hollow Creek shrouded in an unnatural fog. Over the years, the village emptied as residents vanished or succumbed to madness. By the 1950s, the town was abandoned, but Margaret's curse lingered, and those who dare to enter Hollow Creek never come out the same. The dare fast forward to the present day. A group of college friends, Claire, Sam, Nate, and Lisa, decided to document their visit to Hollow Creek for their YouTube channel, Urban Legends Uncovered. They were skeptics and thrill-seekers, eager for views and fame. Armed with flashlights, cameras, and bravado, they ignored the warnings from locals at the nearest gas station. "Don't go past the creek," an old man muttered, his milky white eyes betraying years of horror. "It's not the living you'll find there." The group laughed it off and pressed on, reaching the outskirts of Hollow Creek just as the sun set. The nightmare begins. As they crossed the wooden bridge into the village, the fog descended, thick and suffocating. The air grew colder, and their laughter faded into uneasy silence. The buildings were skeletal ruins, their windows gaping like empty eyes. The faint smell of burning wood lingered, though no fire was visible. "Let's check out the old town square," Claire suggested, trying to sound brave. They followed the narrow path to the center of the village, where the charred remains of a large tree stood, the same spot where Margaret had been executed. Suddenly, Lisa screamed. Etched into the bark of the tree was a fresh message: "Leave now, or you'll join the roots." "Who did this?" Nate whispered, spinning around. No one answered. The shadows awaken. The group decided to leave, but the fog thickened, twisting the path back to the bridge into a labyrinth. Claire's flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move on their own. Nate swore he heard whispers, soft, urgent, and angry. "Who's there?" he shouted into the mist. The whispers grew louder, now overlapping into a maddening cacophony. Out of the corner of her eye, Lisa saw movement, a figure cloaked in tattered black robes standing beneath the burned tree. "It's her," Lisa whimpered. "It's Margaret." The figure raised a bony hand, and the ground beneath them began to shake. From the earth erupted skeletal hands clawing at their legs. The group screamed and ran, but the village seemed to close in around them, the houses shifting as if alive. The final moments. One by one, the group was separated. Sam's cries echoed in the mist as the earth swallowed him whole. Nate tripped and was dragged into a crumbling building, his screams silenced abruptly. Claire and Lisa found themselves back at the tree, the fog lifting just enough to reveal Margaret's ghostly figure. Her face was a hollow mask, her eyes burning like embers. "You took my life," Margaret hissed, her voice layered with centuries of rage. "Now, the land takes yours." Lisa ran, but Claire stood frozen in terror. The ghost extended her hand, and Claire felt her lungs constrict, her vision fading as darkness enveloped her. Lisa barely made it out of the village, her mind fractured and her hair streaked with white. The aftermath. Lisa was found days later, wandering the highway in shock, muttering incoherently about hands, fire, and shadows. Authorities searched for her friends but found no trace of Hollow Creek, only an empty field where the village should have been. To this day, locals warn travelers to avoid the area. Some nights, they say, the fog returns, and with it the faint sound of whispers and screams carried on the wind. And in the distance, if you dare to look, you might see a woman beneath a dead tree, waiting for the next soul to cross into her cursed land. Would you dare to visit?